It's the Harris Football Podcast with your host, Christopher Harris.
Welcome! Hey, everybody. Welcome in. My name is Chris, and this is a show that is home. Thank you very, very much for listening today. I have returned. I am in Los Angeles. This certainly was a first-time event in my life. 5 shows this week, each one from a different city. Seattle, Portland, Vegas, Phoenix, LA, and boy, are my arms tired. Travel, in this country anyway, has gotten worse. Airplane seats have gotten smaller, but it was all worth it because I had the best time. 4 events I wouldn't trade for anything. Got to have so many fun conversations with so many of you. Thank you if you came to one of the readings. I signed a whole bunch of books. We had awesome Q&As about football and writing and fantasy and this very stupid show. It was so cool. And really, so many people talked about how much this ridiculous show means to them. I can't tell you how much that meant to me. I know I'm the yacht captain, but I truly believe that it is all of us who make this show what it is. The snark from you, the songs, the kindness that you display, the care, the fact that we have so many people out there who volunteer to buy books for listeners who can't afford it right now. It's all part of the formula that comes together to make a thing that means a lot to a lot of people. So many kind words. It was pretty overwhelming. I love that so many of you think this show stands apart from most NFL coverage that you hear and see, because it is apart from most NFL coverage, literally. I am doing my best to avoid what other people say. I don't partake much of the echo chamber. I try not to repeat back the stuff that's safe that everybody else says, the one thing everybody learns and then just parrots back as though they've come up with some incredible insight. I don't really know what gets said, and I don't look at ADP until mid-August, and so for better or for worse, you're getting my unvarnished opinion on these things. And probably more important than that, I think it resonates with people that we're talking about football, but we're not really talking about football. I said it at each event. I really do love the NFL. I love to watch the games. It's a great sport. The players are amazing. I also love that it might be the only remaining town square that we have. The rest of the culture has scattered. There really aren't books and movies and TV shows and stuff that so many people all consume, but football is still popular enough to have that feeling that a lot of folks are experiencing what we're experiencing. Plus, fantasy is awesome. It gives us a chance to be in touch with your family, your old friends, your college friends, whatever, that we might not otherwise be in touch with. And then also, football has this incredibly negative side. The billionaires who steal from their communities, the ticket packages that force you to buy meaningless exhibition games and spend insane money for concessions, the scandals that get covered up or hand-waved away. It is a frustrating sport to be a fan of. They don't always make it easy, and I certainly know there are no institutions that are perfect or even close to perfect, but it would be nice if the people who ran football just tried to be a little bit better and not shake us down and lie to us at every corner. And so anyway, I mean, that's kind of what Pound Foolish is about. It was a reason I wrote the book, to get at the dual feeling of loving a thing and also being really mad at it sometimes. And I hope that's at least in part what I communicated on tour this week. And I hope that's what I communicate on the show writ large as well. And speaking of scandals and not knowing whether the NFL will hand-wave them away, there was news on Josh Jacobs yesterday, Thursday. Charges were filed in his case. The original felony arrests were not charged. This is misdemeanors, which the fact that he was charged at all probably means to this point the woman in the case hasn't been bought off yet, but the case against Jacobs is proceeding at the moment, and some details came out because apparently there's a security video from Jacobs' house. It involved arguing over phones, and at one point we're told Jacobs throws the woman to the ground. Certainly does not sound like nothing. And it absolutely does not ease the worry from a purely fantasy football perspective that Jacobs could face a suspension, though we would have to admit misdemeanor charges are better than felony charges for whatever that's worth. The NFL has, of course, been incredibly consistent in the timing of its discipline. So until we see a suspension, we just won't know. But obviously, I love the skill set. He's surely going at a discount in drafts if he doesn't get suspended. He's a late third rounder for me, given the uncertainty, and that's about where I think he goes in most drafts, although I don't think I've actually gotten him in any. And of course, if you would simply rather not partake, would rather not root for him this season, who wouldn't understand that? There was one more joint practice on Thursday, the last one of the year. It was Bears-Titans. There were very positive things said by the opposing beat reporters about Colston Loveland as a pretty unstoppable player in that drill-laden, it's not really a scrimmage, just kind of a bunch of situations. So the hype train of Loveland going high, potentially as high as the third round, probably isn't going to slow down anytime soon. And Caleb Williams also was reportedly sharp. We're not getting Luther Burden in these practices as he is in a race to get his groin injury ready in time for week 1. I certainly accept that he might do it. I actually think probably Luther Burden plays week 1. I just think his price does not account for the possibility that he rushes back and hurts it again. For the Titans, first off, Wan'Dale Robinson apparently took a cheap shot going over the middle and went down hard and left the practice to be evaluated for a concussion, so we'll be keeping our eye on that one here over the next few days. And then, I know Pat Doherty does not agree with this because he came on the show this Monday and made Carnell Tate one of his busts for the season. I'm sort of on board with Tate. And if Loveland was universally praised on one side of this joint practice, Tate got heaps of praise on the other. He apparently finally exerted his will and looked like an alpha, albeit against a Bears defense that was already missing some players and had a couple of defensive backs actually in the practice go down with injury. Tate has seen his ADP drop almost outside the top 80 in recent drafts, and at that price, I actually think I'll take him. I don't think he's a bust at that price. It's pretty rare for me with rookies to be around almost 2 rounds earlier than ADP. I don't want to contradict Pat too strenuously because we're both, of course, absolutely guessing. And Pat even said on Monday that if it turns out Tate is just a different level of dude, he'll be wrong about it. And I think I said it on Monday. I have Matt Waldman's words ringing in my ears that Tate reminds him of Justin Jefferson. So, I'm saying like 6th round. If Tate is there, I have been taking him. And I guess if you do too, then maybe we'll get to experience that together. Lastly, a couple of reminders. First, the Harris Football Almanac is still for sale if you're frantically catching up and listening to a lot of shows to get ready for a draft, maybe this weekend or next weekend. You can still get the Almanac at harrisfootball.com, and you and anybody else who has already ordered it will get an update 1 week from today. I have a lot of work to do now that I'm back, and I will do it. You will have it, a fully marked up 2nd edition with track changes turned on. You'll see the changes from the first 2 2nd editions. So draft's over, Labor Day weekend, aka the busiest draft weekend of the year. You will have fresh information. And also, I lied on Thursday's show about the Pound Foolish giveaways. I was reminded by the Cumulative Press executives, of which, obviously, there are many. We have an entire giant board of directors. Oh, and I am touching my fictional earpiece and being told that I am the only employee of Cumulative Press, but I reminded myself that actually orders next week, even after the launch, will also count toward bribery and toward all the lists. And I will keep bribing all the way through the end of next week. So if you pre-order between now and Tuesday, wonderful, thank you. And if you order next week, post-Tuesday, Send me a screen cap and you still will be entered because of the way these lists work. So anyway, I was goofy yesterday. And I just mentioned a moment ago, if you can't afford a copy, if budgets are tight, if you're saving up for something and don't have discretionary spending, but you'd like to be entered in the bribery drawings and you'd like to read the book, we have Yacht Possums who have volunteered to buy you a copy. So please don't feel weird about it. It's absolutely cool. We are happy to help. Email me, heyharris@harrisfootball.com.
Today's kickoff.
Okay, on today's show, first up, I will finish off the super deep sleeper list that we began on Thursday's show with Jake Seeley. I've got 5 more super deeps for you coming up shortly, and then cousin Josh will join, and it's the rare segment with Josh where we're asking him to turn that frown upside down. We're getting positive Josh on the show today as he reveals players he wants you to draft. These are his Warp Zone players. I think you'll have fun, and I thank you again so much for listening today. We are sponsored again by Lisa. I just got back from meeting a bunch of you in 4 cities in 4 days. I stayed in 4 hotel rooms and slept on 4 different beds. Last night, I got to come back aboard the yacht and sleep on my Lisa, and I slept 10 hours, and it was glorious. One more moment, I can recommend a Lisa mattress above all others. If you've been waking up stiff and sore, it might be time for a new mattress. You can go to lisa.com and take their mattress quiz, find the one that's best for you. They'll ship it direct to your door and give you 4 months to sleep on it. And if it's not perfect for you, you get your money back, no questions asked. And Lisa isn't just about sleep. They also work with local nonprofits across the U.S. to donate thousands of mattresses to families in need. The beds are made in the U.S. They use eco-friendly materials. They donate to get plastic out of our oceans. Go to lisa.com for their Labor Day sale. That's 30% off select mattresses. A great time to do it. Plus, if you check out using the code Harris, you'll get another $50 off the top. LEESA.com for 30% off, and for another $50 off, use that code Harris.
And Chris Harris, he doesn't miss many of those.
Well, when it comes to the super deep sleeper list, I do miss many of those because it's not a list where you're really supposed to hit that many. As we discussed on Thursday's show, if you haven't listened to that one, of course, go back and have a listen. We're not really asking you to draft any of the players we mention on the Super Deeps in a standard-sized league. And so these are backups, these are fringe players, these are unproven players that Jake nominated yesterday and I nominated yesterday and today. So hits aren't really supposed to happen. If you hit on 80% of the list, you have done the list incorrectly. These are deep bench players, dynasty deep bench players. And mostly the original intent of the list from long ago was just to put players on your radar. So if anything funky happens on the depth charts around them in September, or if they themselves wind up buzzing a little more than we thought they would, we'll be readier than most to pounce. I do the super deeps in alphabetical order, so we will pick it up with my 6th name, and that's Kendre Miller of the Saints. We call him Chinese Democracy in honor of the Guns N' Roses album that was announced in 1994 or something, but didn't come out until 2008. So if you were a Guns N' Roses fan desperately clinging to a comeback that would just rock your world, you had to wait for a really long time. And Kendre Miller also long promised. It has now been 3 years in the NFL without doing a lot other than being hurt. A really good college running back who fell to the 3rd round of his NFL draft because of a knee issue and has really had nothing but pain as a pro. I went over the list in the Almanac, and yes, Kendre Miller made the Almanac in the first edition as the number 72 running back. That is not draftable in most leagues. He had knee surgery, a knee sprain, an ankle injury, a hamstring pull, another hamstring pull, a concussion, and then partway through last season, a torn ACL. I'm putting Kendre Miller on the Super Deeps because, there's opportunity. Alvin Kamara is hurt, probably isn't going to play a lot in September behind Travis Etienne. Also, though, because before the ACL tear last year, I thought Miller showed some power and enough wiggle to make me think he has the potential to be good if he could ever stay healthy. Kind of in the Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs style phylum, even, clearly more injury prone and therefore maybe not as explosive as those guys in their primes. And it's pure guesswork and wish casting to say that we know what post ACL Kendre Miller has. Plus, the idea he's not going to get injured again seems fanciful. Even with Kamara out, I don't feel sure that Miller is Etienne's backup. It's probably a mix of him and Devin Neal, and the Saints traded for Zamir White. I really have no idea how any of that would shake out with an Etienne injury, and Kamara will eventually be back, which is why we are not drafting Kendre Miller. But of that group of, not Etienne, not Kamara, Miller is the only one whose actual film has looked good to me. Next, this is not unheard of, a repeat super deep. I put Konata Mumpfield on this list last year when he was a 7th round rookie, whom Sean McVay praised during his first training camp, and Mumpfield did make the team and actually played a little bit. Ran 174 routes, got 23 targets, had 10 catches, scored a red zone touchdown in the first quarter in the Jags game last year. That was a very nice catch. It's not a ton of film, and he's not draftable in standard-sized leagues. The Rams were obviously not 100% thrilled with their receiver depth chart because they just traded for the return of Tutu Atwell from the Dolphins yesterday. I gotta guess maybe that's special teams, but who knows? And then Jordan Whittington often gets listed as the starter in 3 receiver sets over Mumpfield on some websites. And you might be asking yourself, but I was told the Rams only use multiple tight end formations. Surely they don't even play with 3 wideouts on the field anymore. And I'm here to tell you, remember what I said off the top of the show about the echo chamber? When something gets as propagated around, like, did you know the Rams use 3 tight ends sometimes? Then suddenly it becomes the story that, well, they only use 3 tight ends. Of course, they only use multiple tight ends. There's never 3 receivers on the field. Hello there. The Rams had 449 dropbacks with 3 wideouts or more on the field in 2025. They don't use multiple tight ends as their base formation. They just do it more than other teams, and I'm sure other teams are going to start to copy them because it helps the run game a lot. And I'm not trying to tell you that because the Rams use 3 wide more than the echo chamber is telling you, that means any of their third receivers is going to have a lot of fantasy value, especially because it tends to be a rotation of someone like Whittington and someone like Mumpfield. But there is playing time available. 3 wide is still the main formation in the NFL these days. Plus, on the Rams, you've got Puka Nacua, who takes a lot of punishment and 2 years ago missed significant time. Devontae Adams, who pulled a hamstring at the end of last year and by NFL standards is old. So who knows? Someone gets hurt. Someone might get a chance. On film, last year, Mumpfield looked okay. Kind of an in-cut merchant. A lot of work against zone. Not a big guy and not a real burner, but maybe a good set of hands and someone McVay likes. And as a super deep, that's enough for me. Next up, I would have loved to have put Terrence Ferguson on the list, another Ram. I'm very glad that Andy Behrens talked up Ferguson as a dynasty buy on Wednesday's Yacht Club show because I got to chime in. I got to rave about Terrence Ferguson's limited work last year because it was really good. But at this point, there's too much hype on Ferguson. He's not a deep enough name to be going on the super deep sleeper list. He is getting drafted in a lot of leagues right now because there's a lot of hype on him. So it's kind of caught up to where I was on him when I wrote the almanac. So I can't do Ferguson for this list at tight end. So instead, this might be the deepest name on the list. I'm going to really reach and say Eli Raridon, the rookie tight end for the Patriots. A 3rd round pick this past April out of Notre Dame. Not huge by tight end standards, just 245 pounds. There's probably some bulking up to do in the next couple of years. Raridon isn't going to block anybody this season, but as a move tight end, I can tell you this. The Pats are extremely pleased with him at this point, so much so that even though Julian Hill, who they signed in free agency, he was slated to be the team's main blocking tight end, even though he's out for the year with a knee injury, Patriots didn't really add to their tight ends because they think they've got something in Raridon. Hunter Henry, still with New England, just did a 2-year extension. Very little of that money is guaranteed. Stop me if you've heard that before, Patriot fans. So it won't be a shock if Raridon is ready and if Henry starts to show his age at mid 34, 35, 36, if the Patriots move on. But anyway, Henry is there. He's a trusted Drake May weapon, so certainly no room for Raridon to be a fantasy option to begin the year. But a Henry injury might thrust the kid into the spotlight, and who knows, maybe we'll start to believe in him a little bit once the season progresses. Anyway, rookie tight ends, really rare. They make a big fantasy winning splash, but I'm at least keeping an eye on Eli Raridon. Next, alphabetically speaking, I've got Raheim Sanders of the Browns. Teammates call him Rocket. He's a 220-pound fast guy. On some websites, he's now listed at 230 pounds. But the question about him as a prospect, the reason he didn't go in the 2025 NFL draft, is that I think, first of all, he was injured a lot in college. And also, he's one of those, athletes who might not be an actual running back, an actual football player. He is thick, he is very big, and he's fast, north-south fast, but just had a reputation for being pretty stiff and not accelerating very well out of a cut. Good top-end speed, but maybe not great in traffic. What's weird to me, funny to me about this is that the people who, deep down, we know why people boost Omarion Hampton, why they boost Bushel Tootin. They'll talk to you about Mike McDaniel. They'll talk to you about, this is such a good situation. I really like, in the end, it's because they killed their underwear Olympics. They're big and fast. And the same people just simply don't give Raheim Sanders a second look. I think he exists in that tradition. And I thought in a stinky Browns offense last year, after Quinshon Judkins got hurt and the Browns were shuffling through various backfield options, they gave Sanders a little bit of work in December. He had really good power and didn't try and bounce anything and made a couple of people miss between the tackles and looked like an absolute moose to tackle. I even remember at the time on a few of his runs probably saying on the show that I wanted to remember the name. The Browns offense probably going to be stinky again. We don't know that for sure, obviously. And Judkins is no longer injured, and I'm drafting Judkins a ton. Next week I'm going to do, or maybe 2 weeks, I'm going to do that thing where I say, the players I drafted most. I'm sure Judkins is going to get mentioned because it seems like I'm getting him a bunch. So, Dylan Sampson's the third down back. He's going to play a lot. There's no room for anybody else right now. But if we were to get another Judkins injury, I would be interested to see if Raheim Sanders got the nod on early downs, and then I'd be interested to see how he would do. And then lastly, alphabetically, the one player Jake and I overlapped on, so you heard the name on Thursday's show. It is Nicholas Singleton. We had a really good conversation with Matt Waldman a couple of Mondays ago about Singleton, and I felt like he kind of straightened me out a little bit. I changed my tune some on Singleton based on that conversation, whereas previously I had just understood, okay, so he was supposed to be the next Saquon when he got to Penn State, and then by the end of his career wasn't really even a starter. So I kind of was like, all right, well, that's the kind of dude that I don't want any part of. And Matt explained some of that and gave me a new perspective on Singleton. And I'm kind of comparing these two bigger backs, Singleton and Jonah Coleman of the Broncos, and remembering that Matt was like, yeah, I don't really understand the hype on Jonah Coleman. I think he kind of stinks. And Coleman is absolutely climbing draft boards every day, I guess because Sean Payton, who simply cannot be trusted in what he says about his players, much like this guy couldn't be trusted.
Petey Sunshine.
Sean Payton is the new Petey Sunshine. Coleman is climbing because Payton has said many nice things about him. I'm just staying away from that one. And of course, I'm also staying away from Nicholas Singleton in standard size leagues because Tony Pollard is supposedly having a nice training camp. He actually got good write-ups for his performance in the joint practice against the Bears yesterday. Tajay Spears is still there. But Singleton also has had a good camp as a rookie and seems pretty locked in as Pollard's direct backup. So there's no handcuff here, but I just interested to see how it goes. Whereas as a college recruit, Singleton was supposed to be Saquon, supposed to be this all-world athlete. Waldman emphasized to us that Singleton is more of a good patient runner, has some moves, some physicality, maybe a little more explosiveness than he got to show in college. So again, as with all the guys on the super deep list, we'll keep an eye and see how the early season goes. You know my morning habit. I've already done it today. I put the powder in the water. I drink it down. We're sponsored by AG1. And as I've mentioned, just back from the book tour, it was nutritional chaos, but I didn't fret that at all because I brought 5 travel packs of AG1 with me on tour. This really is my non-negotiable habit. I'll tell you why. AG1 is a daily drink with multivitamin, pre- and probiotics, superfoods, and antioxidants. 1 scoop, 8 ounces of water. It helps maintain energy, supports immune health, and is clinically proven to fill in nutrition gaps and support gut health. That last part, that is crucial to me. My stomach has been so much better since I've been drinking AG1. It's great for several reasons, but I can personally say if you have a wonky stomach, give AG1 a try. It levels things out. It is indispensable for me. I really do feel a lot better. For a limited time, save 20% on your first subscription order of AG1 Next Gen or AG1 Pro at drinkag1.com/Harris. It's really worth a try. drinkag1.com/Harris.
Today's guest.
So things turned sour, they busted me and said no chance. So I threw my hands up, climbed up onto my soapbox, don't mess with narrow man. Now I'm tweeting like, girl, you know I want your suds. Your beer was handmade for somebody like me. Coming now, what if I leave? Disguise myself, I'm incognito. Josh, sorry, age too much. We met on Tinder, so please give us 4 each. Coming now, give us 4 each. I'm coming now, give us 4 each.
We met on Tinder. Give us 4 each. It is the story. What's the name of the beer? What was the name of the beer you're trying to get?
Heady Topper, man. Right from Vermont.
The Heady Topper story, a classic. I've mentioned that I'm back in Los Angeles, but I have to say, I said this to you before we hit the button as well, that you were certainly a topic of much conversation every single city I went to. There were many Cousin Josh stories and people talking about how much you make them laugh and how Friday is the one, if anybody's going to miss shows, they never miss Friday shows because they got to hear you.
You know, Chris, it really feels good to be loved by so many people I don't know. I didn't get that growing up from parents, so as long as acquaintances are huge fans of mine and I can make them laugh, I'm doing my job, right?
You are. And you know that Craig and Suzette, our cousins, that really our parents' cousins, were there along with my sister and we have no danger because none of them are going to listen to this, that's for sure. And when Suzette doesn't know anything about any of this, and when we started talking about Aunt Nora on the whatever that was, Wednesday night version of the reading, she texted your mom. She said, "Did you know that people who listen to Chris's show talk about you?" And Nora apparently was like, "I had no idea."
Unbelievable. My mom somehow is involved in a podcast. Yeah, it's crazy.
But she certainly used to know. You used to tell her. You used to talk to her about it. I remember in the early days, but she forgot. But anyway, Aunt Nora, we love you. All right, well, it is time for Warp Zone. And that is very exciting because it's a rare moment for you to be insanely positive. How does it feel to take off the cloak and the vampire fangs and to just come out in the sunlight?
I don't know, Chris. Like
Pretty bad, huh?
it's strange that I'm used to just poo-pooing on a lot of things. It's weird to
Yes.
throw the positive light on stuff. I was thinking about that. I'm like, today's show is one of the few opportunities I get to be positive about people. It just doesn't really happen. I get some superlatives in the Baggy Awards, but it's mostly negativity. It's fine.
It
Prince
is.
of Darkness.
You are. It is. So the theory behind the warp zone list is basically it's a Mario Brothers reference, I believe.
Oh, 100%. Can I tell you a great story? You're very well known, Chris, amongst my friends for this episode. The original Warp Zone episode, I made a Super Mario Brothers reference. Do you remember what you replied when I talked about taking Warp Zone?
I probably thought it was Star Wars or something.
You said, I'm not as familiar with that. I was probably busy dating. And my friends literally, whenever I go, oh, it's the Warp Zone show, they go, oh yeah, Chris must be too busy dating to know anything about Super Mario Brothers. It's a
I
big
was a younger
inside joke
man then.
yeah, for a decade. My friends have been making that joke now.
That is very, very funny. I was a good line by me.
Oh, great line.
I was younger and meaner. But I did remember what Warp Zone was now, so at least that stuck with me. Basically, the idea here is Josh is attempting to pick. This is again another list of integrity. This is 5 players only, so you can't just say, "Hey, I like 100 guys." You have to say 5 players only, and these are players who are going to perform at least a couple rounds better than where you can take them. That's correct, right?
Yep, at least 2 rounds better. So again, if you're going to talk about a guy in round 6, he better be at least a round 4 talent, 5 to 3, and so on. So it's almost the like my version of kind of planting a flag, but you do that portion way better. This is not as fun.
It's just different. And plus, I have a trademark now. So every time anybody says planting their flag, they owe me $5. That's a new law that I just passed. All right, so let's do it. We're going to count down. It's a pointless countdown. It does not matter at all, but it matters so very much. Who is your number 5 Warp Zone player for 2026?
Yeah, I probably should have put this person 4, but I thought it was funny to discuss them because there's some decent jokes in this. I went with Jared Goff. You had one person as I think a quarterback in your flag player, Stafford. This is my version, I think, of that.
You're
I think
you're
some.
venturing away from the mic a little bit. Sorry, go
All
ahead.
right. No, I was going to say some people, Chris, are into, foot fetishes and others into latex. For me, I'm into statue quarterbacks. I know you got a thing for them too. You look at Goff, you look at Goff the last 3 years, QB7, QB6, QB8. He's thrown for at least 30 touchdowns, 4,500 yards in each of the last 3 years. I'll quote the almanac because you said it there. The only quarterback the last 4 years to finish top 10 in each one of those seasons. Again,
Yep.
the Ron Popeil of quarterbacks. You said it, you forget it, Chris. That's it. Put him in and you just roll. What I also like really quickly about Goff is like they
Yep.
have a great schedule from a weather perspective. He plays in a dome. I don't believe they have a cold weather game until week 17 in Chicago. I mention that because there's been times throughout the last few years he doesn't play great on the road. That was always a thing. Um,
Not last
they
year though.
also no, last year he was good. Last year he was consistent. But you also get the removal of David Montgomery, a little bit more pass happy. In the end, Chris, I don't really care if it's Morton, if it's, they bring in Drew Petzinger, Dan Campbell. The guy prints passing yards. On DK, he's got the highest projected over-under at 4,099. He's the co-favorite to lead the NFL. I find it really interesting that someone like Dak, who's got a similar profile, right, in terms of that offense, goes 40 picks ahead of Goff. I think once again, 40 picks. It's crazy. A round 10 versus a round like 6, 7 player. I think give me the 3 to 4 rounds. I'll wait on quarterback. If I'm waiting, he's my guy. I have him QB 12 on my list. And I just think he's a really good person to get later who's going to return 3 to 4 rounds easily. So you can give me Jared Goff as my first one.
All right. He's my QB 12 as well, and I have wound up with him in some leagues where I've waited and Stafford has gone before I could take him. So definitely have no problem with it. I probably have Dak maybe a round ahead of him, but not significantly. So I definitely see where you're coming from. And essentially that's just another recommendation of a quarterback to wait on. Like you and I, when we draft, rarely wind up with the top guys because they just cost too much. Who's your number 4 Warp Zone?
I was really torn in this one, but I wanted to get a little bit of a deeper name since we just typically talk about, bigger name players on mine. I looked to acquire this person 2 weeks ago before a deal went down in real life. I have Romeo Doubs as my player on this one, Chris. And I went back and forth between Coker and Doubs, and like people are into like Trey Tucker, not as much for me. But he's going as wide receiver 52, round 11. Like I have him more as kind of look. I know I don't need to pick him there, but I have him on mine as wide receiver 40. I
Mhm.
just think that he's someone right now who gets a massive upgrade going from Green Bay, where he was part of a five-headed monster there with all of those players, to the runner-up for MVP in New England. He gets to suit up against AJ Brown, or with AJ Brown. Then you get Boutte dealed to Houston. So now you're in a place where it's like, I feel like the targets and what we think in terms of like a number one, number two guy, it's going to be a little bit more centralized. I know you've always been a fan of
Mhm.
Romeo Doubs, and that was before he got a gigantic helmet on his head, which got me into him. But like, but you've always talked about him when we were like, honestly, Josh, I think he might be the most talented person on this Packers offense. And I agree with what you wrote in the Almanac. Like, I'm not sure if he gets used exactly like Diggs, but I like the way that May operates in the middle of the field. The guy just gets open. He finds ways to get open. He was a good red zone target for the Packers. I think he was sixth in team percentage in the NFL of red zone targets. Like, really impressive stuff within the 10-yard line. I just think that this is someone, Chris, who last year was wide receiver 34. He gets an upgrade. He's coming off a 55 catch season for 700 and change. Like, why can't that bump up to like what you said? 70 catches, 900 yards, 6, 7 TDs. There's an upgrade across the board. I think he's going to get more routes there. And I just think it's a really, really good value to be taking in the double digit rounds. I think it's going to be also a massive player if anything were to happen to AJ Brown, because there's that contingency there too, where you have a wide receiver two on a high octane offense. And if Brown were to miss some games with this knee stuff, like he's going to be an every week player for people. So you can give me Romeo Doubs as my number 4.
So a couple interesting things. The last little point there is a great point because Dobbs can play outside, so he can play the X if he needs to. He's done it in Green Bay. So if there's no AJ Brown, agreed. As far as whether he can take over the Diggs role, I'm a little skeptical now because for the millionth season in a row, we're going in with Pop Douglas as the presumptive slot starter. I'm just like, why are we doing this again? It just doesn't work. But the Diggs stuff, really, the magic mostly happened out of the slot, and they'll mix it up. It's not like they're always gonna. I think when Douglas is on the field, he's mostly gonna be in the slot, but he won't be on the field. So Dobbs will get some in the slot as well. Let me ask you rounds.
Yeah.
So we know what the ADP on Dobbs is. What round would you be like, okay, since I think he's going to be a little better than where people taking him, you're going to go be able to like, where should I take him that's late enough to feel like it's good value, but early enough to feel like I'll get him? What round?
I look at someone like Josh Downs who goes at pick 100, and I don't think that there's a massive difference between those
not
two
massive.
players.
No.
No.
Well,
and like,
they're very different skill sets, but in terms of the likelihood of them bursting versus busting and all that stuff feels kind of similar. Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of what I'm thinking is like, I think when you see Downs go off, that should kind of be your signal of like, all right, that's 36 picks before that. So if I want Dubs, I should probably take him in the next 12 or so. I mean, he's going, what is that? 9. I mean, I would probably take him in 10. He's going in 12 or 13.
10th round. And for Goff, I'll put it in the show notes. I should have asked that when you did Goff. What round are you? I mean, it's the weight. Be the last person in your league to get a quarterback. But like, what's the point where you go, I want to make sure I get Goff so that the person who took, is going to take a second quarterback doesn't steal him.
It's so difficult, and I did it in our mock draft on YouTube.
Yep.
I just think that when you start to see like Lawrence and Caleb and that group go, you kind of got to give yourself a round to make that choice. It's so tough to say 9th round because, if no one else is picking quarterbacks and you still see Lawrence is there and Dak is there and all of those players are going to go before Goff, you can consistently wait. But when you see those 3 guys go off, I think you got to give yourself 24 picks or so and then make that choice to take Goff.
Yeah, that's the right neighborhood. I think that's the right neighborhood. And I got to be honest, as much as I do have Goff on some teams this year, or, they're not teams I'm necessarily playing out. I haven't done the drafts of the teams I'm playing out necessarily, but I took him in La Liga in the auction.
Yeah, you did. And you've May in that.
Yeah, I already have Drake May, but you need another quarterback in that league, that's for sure. It's not super flex, but you need another quarterback. But my point is that I've often waited in various expert leagues that I've been doing, and Goff has wound up on teams, absolutely, for sure. Who's number 3 on this Warp Zone list?
I feel like I'm going to get called a loser, Chris, for doing this pick. And I promise you the number 1 and the number 2 are definitely real guys.
Okay.
I let myself do this, and I took a tight end. I took Juwan Johnson. This is my version of your Brenton Strange flag player. So
yeah, I mean, I'll just say, like, I don't feel that different from.
Okay.
I have Brenton Strange 8 and Juwan Johnson 9. So you're not going to get a big argument out of me. This is once again an argument to wait at tight end.
Bingo. It's the same thing I'm going to tell you about the quarterbacks, and he's going 135. He's going 40 picks after Travis Kelce and Dalton Kincaid. And I just don't really see the difference there. I will say it again. I will take a tight end if the value makes sense. I never go in thinking I'm going to do it. I did it last year with McBride in the middle of the 4th when I thought it got stupid. If the value is there, do it. But primarily, I'm going to wait, and I'm going to pick 1 or 2 of those guys. For you, it's Strange or Juwan Johnson. It could be Goddard for other people, or likely. For me, it's Juwan Johnson. I just think he fits the bill as someone that you can take at the end of the drafts. I'll even give a bump, Chris, in 0.5 PPR if you're in a league with your kids and you're playing PPR. Look, Chris, the guy went out last year, 77 catches, 889 yards, and it's like nobody talks about it. It's bizarre to me to be 5th in receptions and 3rd in yards, and no one cares. And I think you said it really well, again, in the Almanac, which is it's because the guy scored 3 TDs. And if the guy scored 6 touchdowns, and we'd be like, wow, he's number 5, and we'd be talking about him like, man, like, he was a late bloomer, and now he's part of the Saints offense that we love. And it's like Tyson goes down, and we now bump up Olave, and we make, he's a 2-3 turn pick at like top 24, 25. But no one goes ahead and says, well, isn't some of that volume still going to kind of stay with Juwan Johnson, with Tyson probably shelved till maybe after that France game? I just find it bizarre that we have everything we want from a tight end. We just saw him finish as a tight end 1. The competition really isn't there. He's part of a Kellen Moore offense that's been relatively tight end friendly between what he did last year and what we saw Goddard do in the past. It's like it checks off every box, and I figured, like, the dudes from Williamsburg would be all over this, but I'm the only Brooklyn guy, Chris, talking about Juwan Johnson. So, like, I think you're getting 3 to 4 rounds at this at tight end.
He basically is a wide receiver. I mean, he is.
Like you said, he's a big slot.
Receiver. Yeah, it's 230 pounds. How many tight ends 230 pounds? They're all the light ones are 250. And I also mentioned that he actually, one of his many quarterbacks were in college?
It's Tyler Shuck, right?
He played at Oregon with Tyler Shuck for a little while, so they at least know each other. So it seems to me like a very good call. I'm with you. I mean, what's your reaction when you get Juwan Johnson in like the 12th round?
I think you get him later, but I'm completely fine. I go, great, sounds good. Fire him up week 1 versus the Lions. Works for me. I think you even accelerated in, again, PPR, if you're playing with your kids or, some underage people. But yeah, I'm all about it. I'm completely fine. He's part of my draft plan if I can't get one of the tight ends that I kind of have in that upper tier 1.
We are sponsored by DraftKings. I'm going to ask Josh for a season-long prediction on DraftKings here in just a moment. Football is back. Something big is coming. On September 2nd, that's next Wednesday, DraftKings Game Day arrives. There will be all-day deals on DraftKings with betting offers, prediction games, promotions, and giveaways on the app. And don't forget, DraftKings is now live in all 50 states. One app, every sport, all 50 states. It's really going to be worth having the DraftKings app on September 2nd. So if you don't currently have an account, new DraftKings customers can download the app, make a new account, and sign up using the code Harris. And if you make one $5 spend within 21 days of starting your account, you'll get $200 in rewards, and that includes all markets. Get that DraftKings app, sign up using the code Harris. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Okay, we're back with Josh, and to the thrill of a nation and a world, because we have many listeners across the globe. We love you as well. DraftKings is back as a sponsor on the show, and we will be doing a pick each week with Cousin Josh because it went so well in 2025. Josh,
Bad year.
In Phoenix, that reading, I gave a little one-liner at your expense. I said, you may have heard in the podcast that not that many people showed up in Vegas for the Vegas event. It was the by far the least attended of the. I had a great time, and the people I met there were absolutely wonderful. But it wasn't too many people, and I decided that it was probably because they were all mad at your picks. They boycotted the reading. So let's do a pick that is not game specific. We're a couple weeks away still from game, so. How about a DraftKings? I don't know. I kind of left it open to you. A player prop that you like or a team prop that you like?
Yeah, I went back to the well, Chris, on a La Liga player that I've owned for a very long time. I can't get enough of this guy. He recently switched from the Dolphins to the Broncos, and I'm going to go with the over-under yards on Jalen Waddle. It's 924. I'm going to take over. I don't want to give too much away, but I really like him being part of that offense that threw the ball the most last year. I think when it first came out, and I bet it already, it might have even been $8.99, and it's gone up to $9.24. I still like it. 19 players, 1,000 yards, I believe the stat is last year. I think he's going to be one of the players who exceeds 1,000 this year in that role. Again, I'm not going to poo-poo Cortland Sutton. I don't dislike him as much as a lot of other people. And I know you're a fan, but I think there's enough to go around, and I still think that this guy people underrate. So you can give me over 924 yards for Jalen Waddle.
So it's a tough one. It's 1,000 yards has just been hard for anybody to get to. You know, maybe it was just last year. It was a weird year, but with all that passing, it's so spread out. But I like it, and I know how much you like Waddle. I'm reminding you that in September, DraftKings is giving customers the opportunity to get boosted every football game day, every game day, all month long. DraftKings customers can get a football profit boost, one app, every sport, all 50 states. New DraftKings customers sign up using the code Harris. Spend just $5, get $200 in total rewards within 21 days. Includes all markets. Use that code Harris. Let's play the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, bet tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Void in Canada. Bet with DraftKings Sportsbook to get bonus bets that expire in 7 days, or trade with DraftKings Predictions to get predictions dollars that expire in 1 year. Event contract trading involves risk of loss. Predictions offer void in New York. Non-withdrawable rewards issued as $50 click-to-claims every 7 days for 21 days. One single-use boost per customer per day. Expires at the end of the final select game when offered. Valid for select football transactions on the platform for which it's been issued. Terms at dkng.co/offer. Limited time offer. Nationwide based on sportsbook predictions and free-to-play sports contest availability. Varies by state. Limited time offer.
Okay, so we have a couple more Warp Zone guys to get to. I like the list so far. Who are you putting at number 2?
You know, we argued about a flag player last week. We disagreed on Bucky Irving. I actually have a flag player on this list.
Big controversy, by the way, in the public, in the streets. A lot of people not knowing what to do with Bucky Irving because mommy and daddy were fighting.
And I know it's going to happen week 1. I'm getting the text with you from that Bengals 51.5. Like, hey, man, did you like Bucky? So I know that's coming, but we'll see how the season ends. We are going to be aligned on this one. I really tried not to pick flag players. And I realize you had Jameson Williams as well, but we are in lockstep. I have him 17 at wide receiver. I'm kind of a bit baffled that he's a 5th rounder going as wide receiver 26 on Fantasy Pros real time. It's a little bit crazy to me, Chris, because again, you know, I try to put on my flannel with the cutoff sleeves, and I feel like most people look at this and it's like 25-year-old checks the box, pass-friendly option checks the box, like completely healthy. He finishes as wide receiver 9 last year, and typically people always look, it's like, well, how did he end the year? Amazing, right?
Yeah.
We saw that. It's nuts to me that once Dan Campbell took over that play calling, and he wasn't just kind of a deep threat, and they used him all over the field. Like, this is typically the catnip that people go, yum, 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 make him wide receiver. And they do, and they go, you think you could do it in round 5? How about round 3? And it's seriously, and again, you know, people are going to point to the Laporta splits because a lot of this also coincided with him being injured and when he took off. But I looked at it, Chris, again. The last 2 years, he's put up 1,000 yards. He's put up 7 TDs. It's funny. I looked by hand because I said 19 guys. How many people in the NFL have done 1,000 yards and 7 TDs 2 straight years? And there's 5 players. It's ASB, his teammate. It's JMO. It's Chase. It's Cortland Sutton and A.J. Brown. And that's the list. So, like, you have a young guy in an offense that we know is not changing. He did this on 102 targets last year, so it's not like if Laporta comes here, this guy becomes a 75 target guy. He's gonna garner 100 targets. I just don't see why he's not being kind of drafted in that same place as someone like Emeka Egbuka, who is coming off that monster first half, but tailed off, is already dinged up in camp. Yet we're picking him 16 picks earlier, or Higgins 28 picks. Like, I look at some of these offenses and it feels like it checks every single box, yet people haven't caught up to the Jameson Williams stuff. I know he doesn't, and you talked about it, I think, in the podcast, have the greatest hands, but if they're going to use him all over the field, you don't have to worry about him playing, alongside ASB. He's done it 2 straight years, and he was a wide receiver 1 last year. What really has changed besides Drew Petzing coming into this offense and Sam Laporta, I guess, being a little bit more healthy?
And further away. You're getting further away from the mic.
You hear me now?
I can. I could hear you, but you were getting a little softer. Yes, and I think it bears just a second, because obviously I've given the speech when I did the flag thing on Jameson Williams as well, and I do seem to be getting him in a lot of drafts, and I think it's worth just taking a second. And I know we have the running joke about what hipsters do. Also, we have the running joke about what hipsters wear. I think you're pretty off on what hipsters wear anymore. You're stuck in Patrick Swayze hipster times or something. But it is absolutely worth talking about. I loved how you said it. This should be catnip. This is the guy that people decide is better than we think he is. And then you and I go, well, come on. I mean, Laporta wasn't there. Are you sure you want to make him wide receiver 8? They made Pickens wide receiver 8 or whatever he is, And why are you taking the cheese on Pickens but not taking the cheese on Jameson Williams? It's almost exactly the same argument. It's like, well, something changed and one of the guys got hurt and suddenly he got more emphasized and showed out better, and so let's get real excited. And you're so right that sometimes it's just weird that the market, there is no one market, but in the end, what it comes down to is all the experts who are telling people what to do, and all the default ranks that are made by the experts who are telling people what to do. They've all just decided there was something that was a mirage to some extent with Jameson Williams and not a mirage with someone like George Pickens. And I don't, you laid out exactly correctly what could go wrong with Jameson Williams. Laporta was not there, and if he's back and healthy, and okay, if it turns out that we go back to Jameson Williams' situational deep threat, you and I biffed it. Okay, it's not Dan Campbell anymore, it's somebody else. And so if they ignore the second half of last year and ignore that Williams did a lot of different things and just send him back to running the rail on the sideline, you and I biffed it, we screwed it up, we got it wrong. But I'm going to ask you a question eventually, sorry, I'm just agreeing with you so strongly. If we wanted to, you and I wanted to sit here and pick on George Pickens, not for brain reasons, but for football reasons, couldn't we do a lot of the same kind of stuff? Couldn't we say, well, Lamb got hurt really on and was never right, and Pickens himself tailed off and kind of lost concentration? And couldn't it be that Jameson Williams is the really high one and Pickens is the lower one? I just don't get why that choice was made.
It's interesting to me, and again, I look at these ADPs and I find that, again, Pickens, Higgins, 8-9 spots apart, and then there's a 25 pick break, and it's Jameson Williams there, and it feels like he belongs in there. Not that high, maybe a little bit lower, 8-9 picks, but not 25 picks. And I do think this, though, you talk about biffing it, all right, so you pick him in the 5th round, and he doesn't do what we think he's going to do. He's still going to return the 5th round value. I feel like the floor of that pick is if everything goes wrong, you probably get what you pick, where you're picking him now, which is somewhere in the 20s. But I think you can go ahead and reach for him in a round and probably get even another round on top of that. Pick him in the 4th and he returns 3rd round value easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth saying, the ride stinks. If it's Jameson Williams from his first couple years,
volatile.
The ride does stink. And So like I get it. I don't know. We're both just going to be in on it. That's the bottom line. We're both going to be in on Jameson Williams, and we have reached the point of your number one warp zone player. Don't even say it. I know it's Kyren Williams. I know it is not Kyren Williams. Who is it though?
It's funny. It's a guy I used to not like, and I've come around. And again, if you want to go and check out the YouTube page, I talked about him when I took him in the 5th round. Do you remember who I took it in pick 4 of the 5th round, which was pick 52?
Josh,
really
I'm going to admit
It's
that I
a running
don't.
back. That's completely fine. I took David Montgomery there, Chris.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Probably
I remember
not.
saying during the mock draft that you used to not like David Montgomery.
Yeah. Look, I think that running backs have been elevated really high over the last year and a half for obvious reasons. You and I probably didn't really change that, but I think ADP has pumped them up. For some reason, he has not moved up. He's, I think, your typical, as they'd say, the dead zone running back. He's kind of in that 5th round place, and you go, okay. Um, it's interesting to me because I look at guys like Travis, I guess we say Travis Achan now, who's going like
Yeah.
end of 3, who just changed teams. Montgomery, to me, just turned 29 years old. Like, he still profiles and has the ability to be a 3 down back. Like, there's been seasons he's caught, 50 balls. He caught 60 the last 2 years. And even in a minimal role in a split back last year where he kind of took the bat seat to Gibbs, like, he still was a productive running back. Not like he was when he was getting the lion's share, pun intended, I guess. But I don't see much of a decline, Chris. And you're looking at a team, and you and I were all over this 2 years ago. We're obviously bigger fans of Mixon than we were of Montgomery. I just feel like everyone has a running mate. The Woody Marks thing means nothing to me. I think 65% of those touches on a team that has a quarterback that I've said for years now isn't anything special, is going to run the ball and play defense. And he's a power back who's going to get those goal line carries and has been one of the better players. It gives me so much of that Jimmy Connors vibe, Chris, that I used to poop on when he left Pittsburgh. And I'm like, oh, he's going to Arizona. And you're like, he's just got a nose for the end zone. And he comes out, he goes, 17 touchdowns. I don't know if you remember that year. It was absurd. And
Yep.
then after that, it's like, I want to hate the guy, but you go, cool, give me 900 yards and 200 receiving and double-digit touchdowns. And I just think that in a year where there's that super high class of running backs and then there's a drop-off, he doesn't seem like he should be going 2.5 rounds after a Travis Achan or 2 rounds after a Swift or 15, 16 picks. And I think he belongs in that like end of 3, early 4. I like him. I still think he's got some tread left. He's 29. This is not someone who's been used to death where he's been getting 300 touches the last few years. So I'm in on it. I know that he's kind of one of these people you're either very in or you have him as a bust. You're probably somewhere in between. I've looked at your ranks.
I
But
am
you're
in
not
the
a
middle,
complete
yeah.
fade. Yeah.
No. Although I would say I don't think I've taken him at all, and I take Woody Marks a lot. I just get Woody Marks very late. But Woody Marks would not be my reason, because you said it right. It's fine, great. I grant you, it's a 65% roll because that's what everybody does in the NFL. There is absolutely a path to David Montgomery producing above ADP fantasy season without an 80% roll. I know that most people out there have their spreadsheets and they're like, boy, I want to put David Montgomery higher, so I better give him more work. And I don't think that's the basis on which to make ranks, and I definitely don't think it's the basis on which to be drafting Dave Montgomery, because I don't think it's an 80% roll, but it doesn't need to be. He needs the short touchdowns. And in my mind, going into the year, we could be surprised, but there's zero question that on the goal line, it'll be mostly David Montgomery. I would argue maybe the only thing he does really well is run, power trap in between the tackles. I don't think he's much of a mover otherwise. And I think the Lions clearly discovered that and got away from him. And then, I think that trade happened because he asked out. He wanted to play. And I also think there's no question he's going to play more than he would have played if Jahmyr Gibbs was around. So I do have him in the 5th round myself. So I guess I'm not warping him, but I also would in no way, shape, or form poo-poo the pick or say he's a bust.
I'll tell you the one thing that does concern me is that offensive line looked really bad last year. And again, as I say, I'm no offensive line expert. But everything you look at has them ranked as like a bottom offensive line. And again, this stuff is so... I don't know. I try to trust the people who are amazing at the offensive line rankings, and I watched my eyes last year in the playoffs, and it was brutal. But again, to me, it's just about the touchdowns, Chris. If he's going to go ahead and get double-digit touchdowns, as long as he's not getting dinged up, I think he's going to return value easily as a round 5 player where he's going right now.
All right. Well, we got if you, Josh, heard of somebody who did a draft and they did Jameson Williams in the 4th, David Montgomery in the 5th, and then not needing to be starters, Jared Goff will be a starter in the 9th, Romeo Doubs as a bench player in the 10th, Juwan Johnson as your starting 10 in the 12th. You would think that was really great value 5 times.
100%. Right. I'd love to see their 1, 2, 3, I don't know, 6, but yeah. Right. I think you're getting really good value in each of those rounds with those picks.
All right. Well, we've got them in the show notes, and the zone has been warped. And pardon me, I have a date. No, I actually don't. I got to go to sleep. Well done, my friend. Thank you for doing it. If you want to follow Josh, you can do it on Instagram. He's there as Detective Fish. My condolences to Jaylen Warren for learning that he's going to be going way under 925 yards after this segment. Not Jaylen Warren, Jaylen Waddle. It would have been a funny joke if I could have said it right. Jaylen Waddle definitely going over 925 according to Josh. Well done, my friend. Thanks for doing it. We'll talk to you next week. You know what's coming next week, right?
Oh, yeah. We got the baggies, dude.
The baggies. Baggies will be aboard. Let's do it. Thanks, buddy.
Always a pleasure.
And thank you so much for listening. We've got a drawing here momentarily, but let's also thank the sponsors. With no sponsors, there's no show. We had Lisa for a wonderful mattress, AG1 for a morning drink that makes my stomach much more normal, and I'm very grateful for it. And then DraftKings as well. You can find links about today's sponsors in today's show notes. You can find all the current sponsors at harrisfootball.com, and when you pick a sponsor and use the code, it really does help the show. I'm not getting a percentage or anything like that, but it's just about them seeing the codes work and the advertising work, and then they come back. We have so many long-term sponsors because of all of you. I appreciate it so much, and it is time to do the final Pound Foolish bribery drawing of this week, with one more week to follow, of course. The grand prize is coming next Friday. That'll be someone who joins the show the week after. We'll figure out a time, and we can talk on this very podcast, but still a good prize today. This is one of those cameo-style giveaways where I'll record something for one of your fantasy leagues, or you can talk trash via me to a friend of yours, anything you want. Basically, I don't actually have Cameo, but you know the idea, where just tell me what to say, and I will say it. The winner of this drawing, the random number generator has picked out Alex McLennan. And I believe Alex is one of our Australian listeners, which is awesome. Thank you for all our Aussies who listen to the show. Alex, I'm going to email you. You probably already have seen an email from me, and you'll tell me what to do. You'll load me up, and I'll be happy to record a video for you. And that is it. That is going to do it. What a week. I'm tired, but I don't have any time to rest because I got to go fix that almanac, and that is like a week-long job. I got to make a second edition. I'm going to get started on that today. We also have a mock draft coming up that we'll post either this afternoon or maybe on Saturday. And that one's going to be Adam Azier from CBS and me are going to do a mock draft. That's going to be fun. And then a full week of shows next week, of course, leading up to the giant Labor Day weekend drafts. Until then, thanks again so much for listening. Your hat is awesome. You're awesome for wearing it. I will talk to you on Monday.
The Harris Football Podcast's opening theme is Under the Gun by Apex Manor. The closing theme is Say Yes by The Wellspring. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and never miss an episode.